For more than a century and a half, a single sovereign power dictated the geopolitical trajectory of the American Southwest, spanning over 250,000 square miles across modern-day Texas, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Kansas. This vast territory was designated by European cartographers as Comanchería. The inhabitants called themselves the Numunu, meaning the people. However, to neighboring tribes and colonial powers, they were known by the Ute designation Comanchería, anyone who wants to fight me all the time. The Comanche were not merely an isolated nomadic tribe navigating the fringes of European settlements. They constituted an empire in their own right. By adopting and mastering the horse faster and more comprehensively than any other indigenous North American group, they reversed the conventional dynamics of European colonialism, neutralizing Spanish, Mexican, and early American expansion across the frontier for generations. Prior to the 16th century, the ancestors of the Comanche existed as a pedestrian, mountain-dwelling branch of the northern Shoshone in the western Great Basin. Utilizing primitive stone tools and relying on dogs as pack animals, they harvested wild vegetation and hunted small game. The introduction of horses by Spanish colonizers during the late 17th century transformed Comanche society. Splitting from their Shoshone kin, the Comanche migrated southeastward onto the plains of eastern Colorado and western Kansas during the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Access to horses altered every operational aspect of Comanche existence. The warm climate of the Southern Plains provided ideal breeding grounds for immense horse herds, while millions of bison offered an abundant supply of meat, hides, and raw materials. Increased mobility allowed the Comanche to abandon the shelter of the mountains, enter the shortgrass prairies, and displace rival groups throughout the region. Unlike European nations or neighboring tribal confederacies, Comanchería operated without a centralized government or a single supreme leader. Instead, Comanche society was structured around autonomous, highly adaptable bands. These kinship-based political units merged or divided according to resource availability, seasonal shifts, and military demands. Historical records identify at least 13 distinct Comanche bands, 5 of which played major roles in shaping the politics of the Southern Plains. Governance within Comanche bands was deeply democratic. Each band maintained separate civil peace chiefs and military war chiefs. Civil chiefs governed through moral authority, consensus building, and public generosity, resolving internal disputes and directing seasonal migrations. War chiefs earned command exclusively through demonstrated physical bravery, tactical acumen, and success in combat. The political architecture of Comanchería differed significantly from other Plains coalitions. The Cheyenne Nation, for instance, operated under a formal centralized governing council known as the Council of 44, working alongside disciplined military societies such as the Dog Soldiers, Hotometaneo. The Cheyenne Council of 44 comprised 4 chiefs from each of their 10 bands plus 4 elder statesmen, holding legislative and judicial authority across the nation. Similarly, the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika-Tsitapi, in the Northern Plains maintained structured alliance councils among the Siksika, Kainai, Apatoa-Sipikani, and Amskapi-Pikani nations to manage a territory stretching from the North Saskatchewan River to the Yellowstone River. In contrast, the Comanche maintained a hyper-decentralized structure. This lack of centralized administrative infrastructure served as an effective geopolitical defense. Colonial authorities could not subjugate or negotiate away Comanchería by targeting a single capital, monarch, or council. Comanchería functioned as a dominant economic force across the Southern Plains. Controlling the largest horse herds in North America, the Comanche established trade networks linking Spanish colonies, Anglo-American frontier posts, and agricultural tribes like the Wichita. Voiceover, Von Yo. During the 1750s, the Comanche established an economic partnership with the Wichita, specifically the Tiovallas Band along the Red River. The Comanche bartered bison meat, hides, horses, and captives in exchange for Wichita maize, agricultural products, and French firearms. They subsequently expanded direct commercial trade with French and Spanish merchants in Louisiana and New Mexico, securing control over equine commerce across the region. Moving south into the Great Plains during the early 18th century, the Comanche encountered Apache tribes who occupied the region. Through sustained military conflict, Comanche war parties forced the Lipan Apache off the open grasslands into southern Texas and the southwestern deserts, compelling the Apache to form alliances with Spanish colonial authorities. Spanish efforts to project power northward via mission construction met immediate resistance. In March 1758, a force of Comanche and allied Norteños destroyed the San Saba mission, which had been erected to convert the Lipan Apache. In 1759, a Spanish punitive expedition consisting of over 500 troops was defeated by fortified Comanche and Tayabaya forces at the Battle of the Twin Villages along the Red River. By the late 18th century, Spanish Texas was under severe pressure. Spanish administrators abandoned plans for northern colonial expansion, signing peace treaties that acknowledged Comanchería as an independent sovereign power. Following Mexican independence in 1821 and the creation of the Republic of Texas in 1836, territorial pressure on Comanchería increased. Sam Houston, the first elected president of Texas, pursued a diplomatic policy aimed at securing peace through commercial trade and establishing a fixed boundary line separating Texas settlements from Comanchería. The Texas Congress repeatedly refused to ratify any treaty that established a permanent boundary line, maintaining a policy of unrestricted westward expansion. This legislative failure reignited hostilities. Comanche war parties carried out raids across northern Mexico and Texas, capturing livestock, taking captives, and halting the expansion of frontier settlements. By the early 1870s, Comanchería faced an existential crisis: the systematic slaughter of the southern bison herds by Anglo-American commercial hide hunters. Deprived of their primary food supply and economic foundation, the Southern Plains tribes faced starvation. A coalition formed among war leaders and spiritual leaders across the Southern Plains. Among the Quahati Comanche, a young warrior named Quanah Parker, son of Comanche chief Peta Nocona, and Cynthia Ann Parker, an Anglo captive assimilated into the tribe, emerged as a prominent leader. Quanah Parker allied with Isa Taii, a Quahati spiritual leader who claimed ceremonial power capable of protecting warriors from firearms. On June 27, 1874, a force of approximately 250 to 300 Comanche, Cheyenne, and Kiowa warriors attacked an outpost of commercial buffalo hunters at Adobe Walls in the Texas Panhandle. Despite superior numbers, the attack was repulsed by 28 buffalo hunters utilizing long-range Sharps rifles. The engagement at Adobe Walls initiated a broader military conflict across the region, known as the Red River War. In response to tribal resistance, the United States military launched a campaign designed to drive the nomadic bands onto reservations in Indian Territory. General Philip Sheridan directed a strategy of total war, or targeting the resources, livestock, and winter camps of the indigenous population. The decisive encounter occurred on September 28, 1874, inside Palo Duro Canyon. Guided by Tonkawa scouts, Colonel Ranald S. Mackenzie's 4th U.S. Cavalry located a large winter encampment where hundreds of Comanche, Kiowa, and Cheyenne families had taken refuge. Mackenzie's force descended the canyon walls in a surprise attack. While most residents escaped into the surrounding terrain, the cavalry captured the camp's winter supplies and over 1,400 horses. To prevent their recapture, Mackenzie ordered the execution of over 1,000 horses in Tule Canyon. Lacking mounts, clothing, and stored provisions during an exceptionally cold winter, the remaining bands were unable to maintain resistance. Groups gradually surrendered at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. On June 2, 1875, Quanah Parker and 400 Quahati Comanches surrendered at Fort Sill, bringing an end to military resistance on the Southern Plains. Surrender marked the end of the nomadic period, but Comanche leadership adapted to the reservation era. Transitioning from military commander to political statesman, Quanah Parker became the principal chief of the Comanche Nation during the reservation period. Parker negotiated grazing leases with Texas ranchers, advocated for education, invested in commercial enterprises, and protected Comanche spiritual practices by helping establish the Native American Church. Through diplomatic adaptation, he maintained tribal cohesion and advocated for tribal sovereignty during the allotment era. Forced sedentarization and government boarding school policies contributed to a sharp decline in fluent Comanche speakers, a Numic language related to Shoshone. By the early 21st century, only a small number of native speakers remained. In response, the Comanche Nation launched formal language revitalization initiatives. Educators at Comanche Nation College in Lawton, Oklahoma, collaborated with tribal elders and linguists to record, transcribe, and digitize oral recordings. Through modern educational curricula, mobile applications, and community language classes, the Comanche Nation works to preserve its linguistic heritage, ensuring the survival of Numunu identity for future generations. The historical trajectory of the Comanche Nation demonstrates how rapid technological adaptation, equestrian mastery, and flexible social structures can shape regional geopolitics. By acquiring the horse, the Comanche transformed from a pedestrian foraging group into a dominant military and commercial power across the Southern Plains. The eventual decline of Comanchería in the late 19th century resulted not from tactical failure on the battlefield, but from the extermination of the bison herds that formed the foundation of their economy, combined with military campaigns aimed at destroying winter reserves and livestock. Leadership during the reservation era, exemplified by Quanah Parker, enabled the Comanche to preserve their community cohesion and transition into the modern era. In the 21st century, the Comanche Nation functions as a sovereign, native government headquartered in Lawton, Oklahoma. From a historical low point in the early 20th century, tribal enrollment has grown to over 15,000 citizens. Through language revitalization, higher education, and economic development, the Numunu continue to preserve their culture and exercise their sovereign rights.